My name is Ethan Brooks. I'm 32 years old, and for the last 5 years, I thought I had the kind of marriage most people only dream about. My wife and I built a good life together in our quiet Indianapolis suburb. We had a comfortable home, steady jobs, and a future that felt solid. I never imagined that one person's jealousy could tear all of it apart in a single night. It started with rumors, then came the accusations. My wife's best friend claimed I had done something unforgivable, something serious enough to destroy a man's reputation forever. She told everyone who would listen that I had crossed a line I could never come back from. Before I even understood what was happening, my own parents believed her. They looked at me like I was a stranger and told me to leave the house that very evening. The words still echo in my head. "We can't have someone like you under our roof." I stood there in the driveway with nothing but the clothes on my back, watching the front door close behind me. The woman I loved more than anything was inside that house, and I had no idea if she would believe the lies or stand by me. In that moment, everything I had worked for felt like it was slipping away. What hurt the most wasn't the false accusation itself. It was realizing how quickly the people closest to me were ready to throw me away based on someone else's words. I had always tried to be a good husband and a decent son. Now I was being painted as something monstrous, and the worst part was that the person spreading the story had her own twisted reasons for wanting to see me suffer. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I simply turned and walked away into the cold night air, wondering how fast a single lie could burn down an entire life. But even as I left that house, I made myself a silent promise I would not let this destroy me. I would find the truth no matter how ugly it was, and I would make sure the people who mattered knew exactly what had really happened, because when someone tries to take everything from you with nothing but words and jealousy, sometimes the only way forward is to record every single conversation and let the evidence speak for itself. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect you, or if you've watched a lie spread faster than the truth could catch up, then stay with me. This is the story of how one woman's jealousy nearly destroyed my marriage and my family, and how my wife and I fought back together to expose the truth. That night changed everything in ways I never expected. I walked down the quiet street with only my phone and the clothes I was wearing. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of how a single conversation could flip my entire world upside down. Rachel had always been friendly to me in front of Sophia, but behind the scenes she had been building something ugly for months. She told my parents I had made unwanted advances toward her, that I had sent messages and tried to meet her alone while Sophia was at work. None of it was true, but the way she described it made it sound so convincing that my own mother cried on the phone when she called me. By the time I reached the end of the block, my phone was already buzzing. It was my dad. His voice was cold and final. "We can't have this kind of person in our family, Ethan. Don't come back tonight." The line went dead before I could even respond. I stood under a streetlight feeling the weight of those words settle in my chest. The house I had grown up in, the place where I had brought Sophia home for the first time, was now closed to me. Sophia met me at the corner store 10 minutes later. She pulled up in her car, eyes red, but her jaw set with determination. She didn't ask if the accusations were true. She simply said, "Get in. We're not staying here tonight." That single sentence told me everything I needed to know. She believed me. We drove in silence for a while until she finally spoke. "Rachel called me earlier. She sounded so sure of herself, but something felt off. I told her I needed to hear your side first." Her hand reached over and squeezed mine. In that moment, I realized how lucky I was to have her standing beside me when everyone else had already turned away. We ended up at Marcus's apartment on the other side of Indianapolis. He was my closest friend from college and had always been the calm one in any crisis. When I explained what happened, he didn't hesitate. "Crash here as long as you need, and if you want to fight back, I'll help you gather whatever proof you need." We sat at his kitchen table until late, mapping out the next steps. Sophia insisted we start recording every future conversation with Rachel. "If she's lying, we need to catch her in her own words," she said quietly. The next morning, the rumors had already spread beyond my parents. Rachel had messaged several family members and even a few of our mutual friends. Each new notification felt like another punch. My aunt called Sophia to ask if it was true that I had been inappropriate with Rachel. Sophia kept her voice steady on the phone, but I could see her hands shaking afterward. "We're handling this our way," she told them. That night we began the recordings. Sophia invited Rachel over under the excuse of needing to talk things out. I stayed hidden in the next room with my phone set to record. Rachel walked in looking confident, almost triumphant. She hugged Sophia and immediately launched into her story again, adding new details that made the lies sound even worse. Sophia listened without interrupting, then gently asked questions that forced Rachel to repeat certain parts. Every word was captured. When Rachel left, Sophia and I listened to the recording together. The contradictions were clear. Dates didn't match, stories changed slightly each time. Marcus helped us organize the files and even suggested we check Rachel's social media for any posts that might contradict her claims. Over the following days, the pressure inside our temporary situation grew. My parents sent messages demanding I apologize and make things right with Rachel. They refused to hear my side and kept repeating that family reputation was at stake. Sophia stayed strong, but I could see how much it hurt her to watch my parents turn against me so quickly. We kept recording every call and every meeting. Rachel grew bolder, even showing up at Sophia's work once to warn her about me. Sophia recorded that conversation too. Each new piece of evidence made the picture clearer. Rachel wasn't just spreading rumors, she was actively trying to destroy my life because I had chosen Sophia over her years ago. The jealousy had been simmering for a long time, and now it had finally boiled over. Sophia and I worked side by side every evening, building a folder we started calling The Proof. Marcus reviewed everything with us, making sure nothing was missing. The weight of the situation never left me, but having Sophia and Marcus in my corner made it bearable. For the first time since that night in the driveway, I felt like we might actually turn this around. The recordings were growing longer, the contradictions were piling up, and the truth was slowly taking shape. We still had no idea how hard the fight would get, but we knew one thing for certain: we were in this together. The recordings quickly became our lifeline. Every evening after Marcus went to bed, Sophia and I sat at the small kitchen table listening to the latest files. Rachel had started calling Sophia more often, each conversation filled with new details she claimed I had done. The stories kept shifting. One day she said I had sent her messages late at night. The next she claimed I had tried to meet her while Sophia was out of town. Sophia asked calm, follow-up questions during the calls, forcing Rachel to repeat herself. The contradictions piled up fast. Marcus helped us organize everything. He created a shared folder on his laptop and taught us how to timestamp each recording and note the exact words that didn't match. "This is going to be important later," he said quietly one night. "You need to show a clear pattern, not just one bad conversation." Sophia nodded and kept typing notes beside me. Even though she was exhausted from work and the emotional weight of everything, she never once suggested we stop or try to talk to my parents again. She believed the evidence would speak louder than words. Rachel grew bolder as the days passed. She began showing up at places she knew Sophia would be: the grocery store near our old neighborhood, the coffee shop Sophia liked, even the parking lot outside Sophia's workplace. Each time she acted concerned, telling Sophia she was worried about her safety and that I was dangerous. Sophia recorded those conversations too, her voice steady while Rachel painted me as someone unrecognizable. One afternoon, Rachel called while Sophia was driving home from work. I was in the passenger seat. Sophia put the phone on speaker. Rachel's voice filled the car, smooth and confident. "Sophia, I'm only telling you this because I care about you. Ethan has been texting me again. He keeps saying he made a mistake choosing you and that he wants to fix things between us." Sophia glanced at me, her grip tightening on the steering wheel, but she kept her tone neutral. "Really? What exactly did he say?" Rachel went on adding more fabricated details. Every word was captured clearly. When the call ended, Sophia pulled into a parking lot and we listened to the recording again. The lies were obvious now. Rachel had claimed I sent messages on days when I was actually at work with witnesses. Marcus later helped us pull my work schedule and security camera logs from my office to match against her claims. The gap between her story and reality grew wider each week. Meanwhile, the pressure from my parents didn't let up. My mom left voicemails telling Sophia she was making a huge mistake by staying with me. My dad sent texts saying the family name was being dragged through the mud and that I needed to take responsibility. Sophia never argued back. She simply saved every message and added them to the folder. "They'll see the truth eventually," she told me one night, though I could hear the strain in her voice. Rachel's campaign spread further. She started messaging other friends and even some distant relatives, always framing herself as the victim who was trying to protect Sophia. The more she talked, the more careless she became. In one recording, she accidentally admitted she had been angry ever since I chose Sophia over her years ago. "He was supposed to pick me," she said bitterly when she thought Sophia wasn't fully listening. That single sentence became one of our strongest pieces of evidence. Sophia and I worked late into most nights, cross-checking dates, messages, and timelines. Marcus joined us whenever he could, offering a calm, outside perspective. The three of us slowly built something solid, a collection of proof that showed exactly how Rachel had constructed her lies. The weight of the situation never left us, but having Sophia beside me every step of the way made it feel possible to fight back. She never wavered. Even when my parents cut off contact completely, she stayed focused on gathering what we needed. We still didn't know exactly when or how we would reveal everything, but we knew the moment was coming, and when it did, we would be ready. The evidence was starting to speak louder than Rachel's words. We had collected more than 20 separate recordings by the end of the third week. Sophia and I listened to them every night after Marcus left for his shift. Rachel's story kept changing in small but important ways. One week she claimed I'd sent her messages on a Tuesday night when I was actually at a work dinner with 3 colleagues who could confirm my location. Another time she said I had followed her to the mall, but the timestamp on her own social media post showed she was nowhere near there that day. Marcus helped us build a master timeline on his laptop. He color-coded everything green for our proof red for Rachel's contradictions. "You need to make this impossible to ignore," he said, while adding another entry. Sophia worked quietly beside us, cross-referencing dates with our shared calendar and my work logs. She rarely spoke during these sessions, but her focus never wavered. Even when she was tired from her job, she stayed up late organizing files and making notes in neat handwriting. Rachel continued her campaign without slowing down. She started calling Sophia's mother and sisters, telling them I was a danger to the family and that Sophia was blinded by love. Sophia's family began asking questions, but Sophia handled them calmly. She never argued. She simply said she was looking into everything and would share what she found when she was ready. Behind the scenes, she recorded those phone calls too. One Saturday afternoon, Rachel showed up unannounced at the coffee shop where Sophia sometimes worked on weekends. I waited in the car while Sophia went inside with her phone recording in her bag. Rachel sat down and immediately launched into another detailed story about how I had supposedly tried to contact her privately. Sophia let her talk, asking just enough questions to keep the conversation going. When Rachel finally left, Sophia returned to the car and we listened to the recording together. The new lies were even more elaborate, but they contradicted earlier versions in 3 different places. Marcus met us later that evening. We played him the latest file. He shook his head slowly. "She's getting sloppy. That's good for us." He helped us add the new contradictions to the timeline and suggested we start preparing a clear summary document that anyone could understand. Sophia agreed. She wanted something simple and factual, no emotion, just dates, recordings, and proof. The pressure from my parents grew heavier. My dad left a long voicemail saying the family was suffering because of my refusal to take responsibility. My mom sent messages asking Sophia to convince me to apologize to Rachel so things could go back to normal. Sophia saved every message without replying. She told me quietly one night, "They don't want the truth right now. They want the easy version." Her calm strength kept me grounded when I felt like everything was slipping away. We kept recording. Rachel called Sophia almost every other day now, each conversation adding more pieces to our collection. Sometimes she slipped and mentioned how angry she had been when I chose Sophia instead of her. Those moments were gold. We marked them carefully. By the end of the 4th week, the folder was thick with evidence. Marcus printed out a clean summary chart showing every contradiction. Sophia looked at it for a long time, then turned to me. "We're getting close," she said. "Soon we'll have enough to show everyone exactly what happened." The fight was far from over, but for the first time I could see a path forward. With Sophia beside me and Marcus helping behind the scenes, the truth was slowly becoming undeniable. We just needed one more solid opportunity to bring it all into the light. We were no longer just collecting pieces, we were building a case that could not be ignored. The folder on Marcus's laptop had grown thick with timestamps, audio files, screenshots, and our handwritten notes. Every new recording from Rachel added another layer of contradictions. She had started slipping up more frequently, mentioning specific dates and locations that we could easily disprove with my work schedule, store receipts, and security camera footage from my office building. Sophia and I spent hours each night listening carefully, pausing to note every inconsistency. One Thursday evening, Rachel called Sophia while she was cooking dinner in Marcus's small kitchen. Sophia put the phone on speaker so I could hear. Rachel's voice carried that familiar mix of concern and confidence. She claimed I had shown up at her apartment building the previous weekend demanding to talk. Sophia asked calmly for more details. Rachel described the exact time and even what I was supposedly wearing. The problem was I'd been at a company training session all day Saturday with over 20 colleagues and multiple group photos timestamped. We added that recording to the growing pile. Marcus joined us after his shift. He listened to the latest files and shook his head. "She's getting reckless. That's when people make the biggest mistakes." He helped us create a master document, clean, factual, and easy to follow. It listed every claim Rachel made next to the hard proof that showed it was false. Sophia worked quietly beside us, her face focused as she typed. She rarely showed how much the situation was weighing on her, but I could see the exhaustion in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking. The pressure from my parents intensified. My dad called Sophia directly one afternoon, his voice loud enough that I could hear it from across the room. He demanded she stop protecting me and bring me back to the family so we could fix this mess. My mom sent long messages saying the entire extended family was talking and that my refusal to apologize was tearing everyone apart. Sophia saved every message and added them to the folder without replying. She told me later that night, "They're not ready to hear the truth yet, but they will be." Rachel's lies continued to spread. She had contacted several of our mutual friends and even reached out to Sophia's co-workers, painting herself as the concerned friend trying to protect Sophia from a dangerous husband. Each new conversation Sophia recorded showed Rachel becoming more detailed and more confident in her story, yet the timeline she created never matched reality. One recording caught her claiming an incident happened on a Friday when Sophia and I had been at a family dinner together with witnesses. We pushed harder. Sophia started initiating more calls with Rachel under the pretense of needing advice. Rachel took the bait every time, eager to reinforce her narrative. We captured her admitting in one conversation that she had never forgiven me for choosing Sophia years ago. He was supposed to see what he missed, she said bitterly when she thought the conversation was casual. That single line became one of our strongest pieces. Marcus helped us verify technical details, metadata on photos, location data from messages, and even cross-checking with public posts Rachel had made. The evidence was becoming overwhelming. Sophia and I stayed up late many nights organizing everything into clear sections. She never complained about the long hours or the emotional toll. Instead, she kept saying, "We do this right," or "We don't do it at all." The tension in the apartment was constant, but so was our determination. My parents had stopped calling me directly and focused their pressure on Sophia. Rachel grew bolder, showing up at places she knew we might be. Each time Sophia handled it with calm strength, recording quietly and adding another file to our collection. By the end of the 5th week, we had enough. The master document was complete. The recordings were clear and damning. The contradictions were impossible to explain away. Sophia looked at the finished folder one night and said softly, "It's time to show them the truth." We still had one final step to take, a family meeting where everything would come out in the open. The thought made my stomach tight, but with Sophia standing beside me and Marcus backing us up, I felt ready. The moment we had been preparing for was finally approaching. The night of the family meeting arrived faster than I expected. We chose a neutral location, a private room at a quiet restaurant on the edge of Indianapolis. Sophia had suggested it so no one would feel cornered at home. Marcus came with us for support, carrying a backup drive with all the files. My parents arrived first, their faces tight with disappointment. Rachel walked in shortly after, looking composed and even a little triumphant, as if she believed this meeting would finally force me to apologize. Sophia and I sat across from them. The air felt heavy from the moment we sat down. My dad spoke first, his voice low and firm. "We're here because this family is falling apart because of what you did, Ethan. It's time to take responsibility and make this right with Rachel." Rachel nodded her eyes, glancing at Sophia with fake concern. I didn't want it to come to this, but I had to speak up. For Sophia's safety. Sophia remained calm. She looked at everyone at the table and said quietly, "Before anyone says anything else, we have something we want you to hear." I opened my laptop and started playing the recordings one after another. The first few showed Rachel telling different versions of the same story. Then came the clearer ones, Rachel admitting she had never gotten over me choosing Sophia. Her own voice filled the room. "He was supposed to pick me." My parents' faces changed slowly. My mom's hand went to her mouth. My dad leaned forward, listening harder. Rachel tried to interrupt. "Those are taken out of context." "He's twisting everything." Sophia played the next file, the one where Rachel described the exact time and place I supposedly showed up at her apartment, even describing my clothes. Then I showed the work schedule and security photos, proving I was nowhere near there. The contradictions stacked up one after another. Marcus stayed silent, but ready to explain any technical detail if needed. The room grew quieter with each new recording. Rachel's confidence began to crack. She shifted in her seat, her voice rising as she tried to explain away the evidence. "Sophia, you know me. I would never lie about something like this." Sophia looked directly at her former best friend. "I thought I knew you. But these recordings show something different." My dad asked to hear one particular file again, the one where Rachel boasted about how easy it had been to convince everyone. When it finished, he sat back heavily in his chair. My mom's eyes filled with tears, but this time they weren't for Rachel's story. Rachel stood up suddenly. This is ridiculous. You're all believing him over me. Her voice shook. She grabbed her bag and left the room without another word. The silence that followed felt heavier than any argument. My dad finally spoke, his voice rough. We got this wrong. We should have listened to you first. My mom looked at me, her face pale. Ethan, I'm so sorry. We thought we were protecting the family. Sophia reached over and took my hand under the table. I felt the weight of months of doubt and anger beginning to lift. But I also knew this wasn't the end. My parents kept apologizing, saying they wanted to make things right and that I should come back home so the family could heal. They mentioned helping with bills again, as if money could erase what had happened. I looked at Sophia. She gave me a small nod. I turned back to my parents and said clearly, "We appreciate the apology, but we're not coming back. What happened showed us exactly where we stand. We're building our own life now without the doubt and without the accusations." My dad tried to argue, but Sophia spoke up firmly. "We have everything we need. We're moving forward." We left the restaurant that night with the truth finally out in the open. Rachel's lies had been exposed in front of the people who mattered most. My parents were left sitting at the table, stunned by how completely they had been misled. The drive back to Marcus's apartment was quiet, but it felt different, lighter. Sophia leaned her head against my shoulder for a moment. "We did it," she whispered. We still had consequences to face and a new chapter to begin. But for the first time in months, the path ahead felt clear. The days after the family meeting felt like stepping out of a long, suffocating fog. Rachel disappeared from our lives almost immediately. She stopped calling Sophia, stopped showing up at places we might be, and went completely silent on social media. Word spread quickly through the extended family that her accusations had been proven false. Several relatives who had believed her at first now sent awkward messages asking for the full story. Sophia answered politely but briefly. We no longer owed anyone long explanations. My parents tried to reach out multiple times. First came the phone calls, my mom crying, saying she had been manipulated and that she regretted everything. My dad left voicemails apologizing for not listening and asking us to come over for dinner so we could talk things through as a family. Then the text started. They offered to help with rent, with bills, even suggested we move back into the family home while we got back on our feet. Each message carried the same underlying hope that I would forgive them quickly and resume my old role of supporting the family financially and emotionally. Sophia and I read every message together. She never pushed me one way or the other. She simply sat beside me and asked, "What do you want to do?" After everything that had happened, the answer felt clear. We had spent months fighting alone while they chose to believe a lie that nearly destroyed us. The trust was gone. I called my parents one evening and put the phone on speaker so Sophia could hear. My voice stayed calm. "We appreciate the apologies, but we're not coming back. We're not moving back into the house, and we're not continuing the same financial support we used to give." What happened showed us exactly how conditional that support was. We need space to rebuild our own life. My mom started crying again. My dad tried to argue, saying families should stick together no matter what. Sophia spoke up gently but firmly. "Family should also believe you when you tell the truth. We tried to show you the evidence, but you chose Rachel's story instead. We can't go back to the way things were." The call ended with heavy silence on their end. There were a few more attempts after the flowers sent to Marcus's apartment, messages from other relatives urging us to reconcile. We stayed consistent. No anger, no dramatic scenes, just a quiet final boundary. We blocked their numbers after the third attempt. The cut was clean. Rachel faced real consequences in the following weeks. The recordings we had shared with a few key family members made their way further. Her employer at the marketing firm learned about the false accusations and the way she had used company time and resources to spread them. She was let go quietly. Mutual friends distanced themselves. The woman who had once moved so confidently through our circle now found herself isolated. We heard through indirect channels that she had moved to a smaller apartment on the other side of the city and was struggling to find new work. We didn't celebrate it. We simply noted that actions carried weight. Sophia and I began looking for our own place. Marcus helped us find a modest but clean 2-bedroom apartment in a different neighborhood of Indianapolis, farther from my parents, closer to better schools and parks. The move was small, but it felt significant. We were no longer guests. We were building something that belonged only to us. Evenings in the new apartment were quiet at first. Sophia would cook while I unpacked boxes. We talked about everything except the past. She told me about her fears during those weeks when my parents had turned against me. I told her how her belief in me had kept me from breaking. Little by little, the conversations grew lighter, and we laughed again. We made plans for small things, weekend drives, painting the living room, maybe even thinking about the future in a hopeful way. One night after we had finally set up the living room, Sophia sat on the couch and looked at me. "We lost a lot," she said softly. "But we didn't lose each other. That matters more than anything." I pulled her close. For the first time in many months, the future didn't feel like something to survive. It felt like something to build. My parents made one last attempt. They showed up at our new building with a letter and a check saying they wanted to help us get started properly. We met them downstairs in the lobby. I handed the envelope back unopened. "We're doing this on our own. Please respect that boundary." They left looking older and smaller than I remembered. There were no more attempts after that. The cut was complete. We had walked through fire together, and on the other side we found a quieter, stronger version of our marriage. Sophia and I were no longer just husband and wife. We were partners who had chosen each other when the rest of the world turned away. That choice changed everything. A year has passed since that night in the restaurant when everything finally came into the light. We now live in a small but bright apartment on the east side of Indianapolis. The neighborhood is quieter, the streets lined with maple trees that turn gold in the fall. Sophia and I wake up every morning to the sound of traffic in the distance and the smell of coffee brewing. There are no more late-night recordings, no more anxious phone calls, and no more waiting for the next lie to surface. The folder of evidence still exists on a hard drive, but we haven't opened it in months. We don't need to. Rachel's name rarely comes up anymore. After she lost her job, she moved out of the city. The last we heard through distant acquaintances was that she was working a retail position somewhere in Ohio and had cut contact with most of her old circle. The consequences she faced were real and lasting: damaged reputation, lost opportunities, and the quiet realization that her attempt to destroy someone else's life had only isolated her own. We didn't follow up or seek further punishment. The truth had done its work. My parents tried one final time to bridge the gap 6 months ago. They sent a long letter through a relative expressing regret and offering to help with anything we needed. They wrote that they missed their son and wanted the family to heal. Sophia and I read the letter together at the kitchen table. Then I wrote a short reply, polite, clear, and final. We thanked them for the apology, but explained that we had chosen to move forward separately. There would be no shared holidays, no financial support, and no returning to the old dynamic. The response was respectful silence. They haven't reached out since. Sophia and I have grown closer in ways I never expected. The months of fighting side by side stripped away any remaining illusions. We talk more openly now, argue less, and make decisions as true partners. She still works at the school, and I returned to my job with a promotion that came after the dust settled. Our life isn't perfect, but it feels honest and earned. Some evenings we sit on the small balcony overlooking the neighborhood and talk about the future. We've started saving for a house again, nothing fancy, just something that belongs only to us. We laugh about the little things, the way I burn toast when I'm distracted, how Sophia organizes the spice rack by color. These ordinary moments feel precious after everything we went through. The biggest lesson I learned from all of this is simple but hard won. The people who truly stand by you when the world turns against you are the only ones worth keeping close. Blind loyalty to family or old friendships can cost you everything if it means ignoring the truth. Sometimes protecting your marriage and your peace requires making the painful choice to walk away completely. No half measures, no lingering obligations, no pretending the damage never happened. I no longer feel anger toward my parents or Rachel. I feel gratitude that the lies were exposed before they could do permanent damage to the one relationship that mattered most. Sophia chose me when it was hardest to do so, and that choice rebuilt us stronger than before. Life in Indianapolis continues quietly around us. The suburbs move at their own steady pace, kids riding bikes, neighbors waving from driveways, weekends filled with yard work and backyard barbecues. We've become part of that rhythm again, but on our own terms. As I watch Sophia laugh at something on her phone while sunlight filters through the curtains, I realize we didn't just survive the storm. We walked out the other side carrying only what truly mattered: our marriage, our trust, our future. And that in the end was the only victory that counted.